The stars over Delta Origi shimmered like frozen fire, distant and indifferent. On the bridge of the UEN Resolute, Admiral Helena Raz watched them with a stillness that belied the storm brewing in her chest. A soft chime broke the silence. "Ma'am," said Commander Elric Vance, her second-in-command. "We've just lost contact with Outpost Helion 7. No distress signal, just nothing." Helena didn't blink. "Confirm." Vance hesitated, his jaw tightening. Triple-checked. Silent across all bands. She turned to the holomap rising before her. A red halo pulsed over the Helion sector, formerly a civilian mining outpost, lightly defended. "Too lightly." "Satellite recon?" she asked. Lieutenant Mara at Ops Control shook her head. "Debris field, ma'am. Radiation spike consistent with Zarkalon fusion lances. Estimated death toll, 10,000, minimum." Silence fell like a hammer. No one dared speak. They all knew the implications. The Zarkalon had crossed the line. Again. But this time, they hadn't bothered with pretense or political leverage. No warnings, no demands. Just annihilation. Helena's hand closed around the edge of the console. Not rage, not yet. Something colder. More precise. "Patch me through to Earth Defense Command," she said. "Clear Priority 1. Full encryption." The connection crackled, then stabilized into the worn face of General Tomas Akechi. His eyes sharpened the moment he saw her. "I take it you've seen the news," Helena said. "We just did." Akechi exhaled. "They're calling it a rogue act. Plausible deniability. Typical Zarkalon bullshit." "We know better." "Too coordinated to be a rogue warband," Akechi agreed. "It's a test. A test they think we'll fail." A pause. The general looked past her, then back, jaw set. "Admiral Raz, the president has given the green light." Her heart slowed. The words were quiet, simple. But to those who understood, they signaled a seismic shift. "Confirm Vanguard protocol," she said. "Confirmed," Akechi replied. "The gloves come off." 2 hours later, Helena stood alone before the reinforced viewport of the Resolute's command deck as the ship detached from its orbital dock. The rest of the fleet fell into formation behind her, shadowed in the curvature of Neptune's pale light. Fleet Vanguard, Task Force 1. 7 ships, small by galactic standards. But every vessel was a masterclass in human military ingenuity. Unofficially called the Fleet That Doesn't Exist, Vanguard had been Earth's silent insurance policy, only activated if all diplomacy failed. Today, diplomacy was ash. "Status report," she called. "All units online," Vance replied. FTL paths to Delta Origi plotted and staggered. Full stealth engagement protocols active. "Good." She moved to the command chair and lowered herself into its embrace. "Navigation. Engage phase drive. Plot course to Delta Origi system. Time to arrival." 4 hours, 15 minutes, Mara answered. Helena nodded. "Then we arrive in silence. No warnings, no broadcasts. They wanted war. Let's make them regret asking." Halfway through the jump, Vance approached with a datapad. Message from civilian oversight. "The President wants confirmation that retaliation will be measured." Helena didn't look up. Did the Zarkalon offer a measured strike to Helion 7? "No, ma'am." She accepted the pad anyway and entered a short reply. "Response will be proportional to the threat. Vanguard does not operate on vengeance. We operate on certainty." She handed it back. "Send it." Vance hesitated. "We might be the spark for a larger war." She met his eyes. That spark already lit the moment Helion burned. "Our job is to make sure it doesn't spread, by ending the hand that struck the match." 3 hours later, the Resolute dropped out of FTL with a thunderless blink, drifting just outside the gravimetric edge of the Delta Origi system. The rest of Vanguard Task Force dropped in seconds behind. "Begin silent scans," Helena ordered. "Reading Zarkalon activity near Sector 4C, Mara said. "Looks like a forward assault group. 8 ships. Mostly light destroyers and 2 command carriers." "And civilian signatures?" 400. Survivors on Delta Colony. Dug in, running low on power. Helena's eyes narrowed. Projected time until Zarkalon ground sweep? 2 hours, maybe less. Then we move now. She brought up the tactical overlay. Flank from Starwood Arc Intercept Vector Gamma. Activate Ghost Shields. No comms until strike. Once we engage, we hit fast, break their formation, and vanish. Helena stood as her officers set the plan in motion. They thought they'd catch us sleeping, she said quietly. Let's wake them properly. 10 minutes later, from the perspective of the Zarkalon fleet, the stars themselves began to flicker. Then bend. Then disappear. By the time they realized what was happening, it was already too late. Vanguard Task Force 1 tore into them like wraiths. The Resolute opened fire with phase disruptors. Silent but catastrophic. The lead Zarkalon destroyer imploded from the inside, leaving behind a superheated vacuum. Helena's voice was cold, surgical. Shift fire vector. Strike command carrier 2. Launch boarding spike. The Resolute shuddered as a titanium lance drilled through the enemy carrier's hull, followed by a payload of autonomous drones. Inside the Zarkalon ship, chaos reigned. Black-clad human drones neutralized the bridge in under 3 minutes. Carrier control transferred, Mara confirmed. We own their comms. Broadcast a message, Helena said. She turned to the holo display and stared into the eyes of a dozen stunned Zarkalon commanders on their internal frequency. This is Admiral Helena Raz, UEN Vanguard Protocol. You opened fire on a sovereign colony. You destroyed 10,000 innocent lives. She leaned forward, her voice unflinching. You mistook patience for fear. You mistook restraint for weakness. This was your mistake. She ended the transmission. Target remaining ships. No survivors. 23 minutes after the ambush began, silence returned to Delta Origi. Not a single Zarkalon ship remained. Helena stood in the center of the now quiet bridge. Commander Vance. Yes, Admiral? Send a message to Earth. She dictated it slowly, word by word. Engagement successful. Vanguard has engaged. Delta Origi secured. Let the galaxy take note. We are done pretending to be weak. Warlord Vierothak lounged in his throne of bone-forged alloy aboard the dreadnought Fong of Ulrex, his claws tapping a slow rhythm against the armrest. The scent of victory already tinged the air, so he believed. Reports had filtered in. Helion, 7 gone. No response from Earth beyond diplomatic whimpering. Predictable. Pathetic. His aide, a smaller Zarkalon named Zurich, approached with caution. My lord, we've lost contact with the assault group near Delta Origi. Vierothak's head tilted slightly, scales around his eye ridges tightening. All of them. Zurich bowed low. Every ship. Silence since last contact. No debris field reported by our scouts. It's as if they vanished. That gave Vierothak pause. The humans had never responded this quickly before, and certainly not with such precision. He snarled softly, then waved a clawed hand. Send a replacement squadron. 2 full wings. Keep them out of range. I want reconnaissance, not more losses. Zurich hesitated. And if they encounter resistance? Observe. Report. Do not engage. The aide bowed and hurried away. Vierothak rose slowly, the air rippling with heat from his armor's reactor core. He moved to the central holomap, watching Earth's territory pulse like a wounded animal. And yet, there was something unfamiliar in that wound now. Something that hadn't been there before. Resistance. Light years away, Helena Raz stood on the observation deck of the Resolute, arms folded, eyes fixed on the far reaches of dark space. Her ship was running silent again. No lights, no signals, a ghost in the void. A quiet ping echoed from the tactical console. Contact, said Mara. 2 recon wings just dropped into the system. Zarkalon signatures confirmed. They're running passive scans, trying to stay hidden. Helena smiled faintly. Let them try. She turned to Commander Vance. Time for a lesson in misdirection. The plan was simple, deceptively so. While the Resolute and its escorts held position in the asteroid shadows of a collapsed moon's orbit, a drone cluster seeded a false signal path through the system's dead sectors. Mimicking communication pings and heat traces, the decoy suggested a human relief convoy had arrived and was unaware of the Zarkalon presence. Predictably, the alien scouts moved to intercept. "Zarkalon wing diverting course," said Mara. "They've taken the bait." "Deploy shadow talons," Helena said. "Keep formation tight. No mercy." From the silent underbelly of the fleet, the Vanguard stealth corvette slid into motion. Sleek, black vessels invisible to conventional sensors, armed with weaponry engineered for precision annihilation. Within 15 minutes, both Zarkalon wings were obliterated. No wreckage. No trace. Helena didn't celebrate. She knew what came next. Back aboard the Fong of Ulrex, Via Rothak's nostrils flared as another update blinked into life. Gone. Again. His scouts, his elite eyes in the dark, erased without a whisper. He slammed a clawed fist into the comms table, denting the metal. No debris? No signals? Nothing. Nothing, my lord, Zurich said quietly. As if the void swallowed them whole. Vierothak snarled, pacing. This is not the humans we know. Something's changed. Zurich dared to ask. Should we pull back? Regroup. The warlord turned, eyes glowing with cold fire. No. We double our assault. Send in Battle Cluster 9. I want that system crushed. Wipe every human trace from it. He turned toward the viewport, watching stars slide by in silent defiance. They think they've evolved teeth. I'll show them what real fangs feel like. Helena studied the data streaming in from long-range probes. They're committing a full cluster now, she said, noting the movement. At least 20 ships, heavy configuration. Vance whistled low. They're serious. Good. We've got their attention. She shifted her gaze to the black void beyond. And they've just walked into a trap. She summoned the fleet's command AI, Argentum. Begin Phase 2. Activate Mirage Protocol across Lagrange Point 6. Pull resources from planetary mining arrays and scramble decoy signatures. A synthetic voice replied. Mirage Field activated. Estimated Zarkalon targeting confusion. 82%. Helena nodded once. Prepare to split the fleet. I'll lead the decoy team. Vance, you'll command the hammer. Vance raised an eyebrow. Taking the bait yourself? They expect a human retreat, not a challenge. I want them to feel confident. Overconfidence is their drug. We just need to give them one more hit. He smirked. Understood, Admiral. The Resolute jumped into view of the incoming Zarkalon fleet, running full lights, signal beacons blinking like a wounded animal. Helena stood front and center on the bridge, letting her presence radiate across every band. It was bait in its purest form, visible, vulnerable, and seemingly alone. Zarkalon fleet acquiring lock, Mara said. Maintain course. Let them believe we're panicking. Helena's voice stayed level. 3-2. Hostile weapons charging. Now. A sudden rupture in space just behind the Zarkalon Vanguard. Fold space apertures flared to life. Vance's strike team emerged in perfect formation. Pulse torpedoes fired in sync, slicing through the rear of the alien cluster. Ships tore apart in radiant silence. The Zarkalon force twisted, trying to reorient, but Helena's Resolute was no longer defenseless. Ghost shields dropped, revealing her full armament. She gave the order. Open fire. The battle was brutal and swift. The Zarkalon fleet was too slow to adapt, their formation shredded by strikes from angles they hadn't anticipated. Helena's forces punched above their weight, weaving between asteroids, exploiting gravitational eddies, using every piece of space like a blade. Within 40 minutes, half the Zarkalon ships were gone. The rest tried to retreat. Helena didn't let them. Intercept their lead cruiser, she said. No escape. No survivors. The last enemy ship exploded in a ring of white flame, debris scattering into the asteroid field. Helena turned toward the main screen. Her voice was quiet. Status. All enemy ships destroyed. No damage to our core fleet, Mara confirmed. She nodded once. Send the black-coded message to Earth Command. Phase 2 complete. Enemy forces decimated. The Predator blinked. The prey did not. Back on the Fong of Ulrex, Viarothak stood in stunned silence, claws clenched. 3 fleets. Gone. Not a trace recovered. He stepped toward the map and dragged a claw across human space. I want Earth, he growled. Their home. Their leaders. Their fire. Zurich cleared his throat nervously. They've sent no formal declaration, my lord. They think silence protects them. He turned, eyes narrowing to slits. Tell them they've just declared war. And this time, we burn everything. Delta Origi's asteroid belt shimmered like shattered glass, orbiting a dying gas giant whose red storms never ceased. It was here, in this lifeless ballet of rock and radiation, that Admiral Helena Raz chose to make her stand. The Vanguard fleet was already in motion. No speeches. No rallying cries. Just cold commands, swift coordination, and lethal purpose. Helena stared at the tactical map as enemy signatures flared into position. 30 Zarkalon warships, double the number from last time. Viarothak had abandoned subtlety. He wanted blood. He'd get fire instead. Fleet elements locked into Pattern Omega, Vance reported. Our decoy ships are in place along Route Vector 4A. Phase mines deployed. Helena nodded. Good. When they break formation, we hit them with everything. She didn't flinch as the enemy fleet entered the kill box. On board the Zarkalon command cruiser Tirvalish, Commander Grexic's eyes widened as half the asteroid field exploded around him. Mines, he roared. Flashes of light consumed the Vanguard. 6 ships torn to metal dust before they had time to react. The asteroids weren't cover. They were traps. Rigged, armed, disguised. Before Grexic could recover, firestorms from the flanks rained down. Vanguard strike ships zipped between debris, too fast to track, too agile to pin down. Back on the Resolute, Helena's voice remained calm. Target their coordination vessels. Disable, don't destroy. We want their lines severed. Her fleet complied with terrifying efficiency. EMP lances ruptured Zarkalon communication relays, leaving their ships isolated, each captain fighting blind. This isn't a battle, Vance muttered. It's a slaughter. Helena's jaw tightened. It has to be. But victory came at a cost. The UEN Valkyrie, a forward assault cruiser, took a glancing hit from a Zarkalon plasma spear. Its hull fractured. Fire erupted through its rear compartments. Valkyrie's gone dark. Mara shouted. No response. Helena didn't hesitate. Redirect recovery drones. Keep the debris from alerting their second wave. The explosion echoed in her bones. The Valkyrie was one of hers, veterans from the Mars Defense Initiative, survivors of 2 Black Ops campaigns. Friends. She didn't let it show. Loss was the price of command. Then, something changed. Ma'am, Mara said, we're picking up long-range Zarkalon transmissions. Not tactical. It's a broadcast. Helena raised an eyebrow. On screen, the image resolved into the snarling face of Viarothak. Blood-red armor, eyes ablaze. To the humans who think themselves clever, know this. Your tricks end now. We do not duel in shadows. We cleanse by fire. He turned his head. A planetary map appeared behind him. Dara Prime, a lightly defended human colony, rich in atmosphere, home to over 100,000 civilians. Let's see how strong you are when the ones you protect scream for you. The transmission cut. Mara's voice was hushed. He's heading straight for Dara Prime. Helena didn't move for a second. Then, Vance, reroute the fleet. We intercept before they reach orbit. He hesitated. They're faster in open space. We'll be behind them. Then we won't follow, she said. We'll cut across. 30 minutes later, Resolute tore through an unstable slipstream corridor, a narrow foldspace lane the Zarkalon considered too volatile to navigate. For a reason. Structural integrity down to 80%, Mara warned. This corridor's degrading fast. If we don't make it through, Helena said, Dara Prime burns. They did make it through, barely. The Resolute exited foldspace directly behind Viarothak's fleet, now arrayed in orbit over Dara Prime like carrion beasts over a dying world. But they weren't alone. 2 more human ships emerged behind Resolute. Not Vanguard. Older. Slower. Civilian freighters. Why are they here? Vance asked, aghast. They're evac ships, Helena said grimly. Trying to run while there's still time. The enemy saw them too. Viarothak's lead cruiser rotated toward the freighters, charging its main cannon. Move us now! Helena barked. Resolute surged between the freighters and the Zarkalon ship, taking the first blast square on its forward shields. The lights dimmed. Metal shrieked. Shields at 40%. Mara shouted. That was a direct hit. Helena stood firm. Prepare Blackwave Protocol. Vance spun toward her. That's still experimental. Command hasn't even approved. They're about to glass a planet, Commander. I'm done waiting for permission. Blackwave Protocol was humanity's deadliest untested weapon, a gravitational shockwave, shaped by a polarized quantum field. Instead of heat or radiation, it turned space itself into a weapon. She activated the ignition keys. The chamber below hummed with raw energy. Target enemy command ship, she said. Wide field spread. On my mark. Time seemed to freeze. Mark. A pulse of white light rippled from beneath the Resolute's belly. The stars bent. Zarkalon ships shifted, then buckled. One was torn in half as its own gravity collapsed inward. Another spun out, crashing into its companion. The wave passed. Silence reigned. Of the enemy fleet, only 5 ships remained functional. The others drifted in broken orbits, lights flickering. Finish them, Helena said. And they did. Dara Prime was safe. The freighters docked with orbital stations to begin evacuating civilians, just in case. Helena stood at the viewport, staring at the red clouds of the planet below. Vance joined her, bruised, limping. We pushed the line again, he said. We didn't push it, Helena corrected. We drew it. He nodded. Still, Blackwave worked. Too well, she murmured. Now they'll adapt. You think Viarothak survived? Helena's gaze hardened. Yes, and he's not going to forget this. Back in the deep black beyond galactic trade routes, the Fong of Ulrex limped into an abandoned system. Its hull cracked, command decks crippled. Viarothak, bloodied but alive, stared at the flickering footage of the battle. At the pulse that destroyed half his fleet. At a human weapon no one warned him about. He didn't rage. Not this time. He studied. Bring in the engineers, he said quietly. Zurich looked up, stunned. You want to build a countermeasure? No, Viarothak turned to him slowly. I want to build a message. A low hum pulsed through the Resolute's core, vibrating the air with tension. The ship was docked inside Vanguard Station Aegis, hidden in the gravity well of a brown dwarf. Repairs were underway, drones crawling over her scorched hull. Inside, every corridor buzzed with urgent motion. Crew refitting, systems recalibrating, weapons reloaded. Helena Raz stood before the command holomap, arms crossed, jaw tight. The hologram shimmered with updated Zarkalon fleet data. They're coming straight for us, said Vance, leaning over the console beside her. Good, Helena replied without hesitation. Let them. He frowned. We took down 2 clusters. He's still sending more. Not more. Oh. She magnified the projection. This is everything Viarothak has left. Flagship, escorts, Dread-class carriers. He's throwing it all into one final strike. Vance muttered, Arrogant bastard. He doesn't believe we'll stand. He's convinced this station is a bluff, just another empty symbol. She turned to the operations officer. What's the fleet status? Mara responded without looking up. Core ships operational. Blackwave system charged. Forward turrets at 87%. Ghost shields recalibrated. Reinforcement squadrons en route from Triton. ETA 90 minutes. Helena nodded. We won't last that long. We fight with what we have. An hour later, the darkness outside the station shifted. FTL ruptures bloomed. 12. Then 16. The Zarkalon fleet emerged in perfect formation, weapons primed, ready to annihilate anything in range. But Helena didn't fire. Not yet. She wanted him to see. "Open a direct channel to the Fong of Ulrex," she said. On screen, Viarothak appeared. Calm, composed, not gloating for once. His armor was different now, black with scars of plasma and steel, ceremonial paint flaking from battle. "Admiral Raz," he said. "I should thank you." She raised an eyebrow. For showing me humanity's true face. You have fire after all. But fire burns out. I am not here for conquest. I am here to end you. You already tried, Helena said. And failed. Viarothak leaned closer. This is not a skirmish. Not a test. This is extinction. I will erase this fleet, this station, your memory. The galaxy will forget your name. Helena stared. Unreadable. Then come try. She ended the transmission. Battle stations. All hands. Aegis station lit up like a sun. Turrets locked onto incoming signatures. Drones launched in squadrons. Interceptor ships flared from the docks, weapons primed. The Zarkalon fleet opened fire first. Particle lances and fusion bursts rained down on Aegis's outer shields. The station shook, but held. Shields at 60%, Vance reported. They're focusing on the core ring. Let them burn out their opening volley, Helena said. Don't respond yet. Her silence was strategic. Viarothak expected panic. Instead, she gave him restraint. Then she struck. Fire pulse array. Target his flanks. 3 destroyers vanished in seconds. Human warships surged out like hornets. Small, fast, brutal. Helena moved between command stations with precision, adjusting formations mid-battle, calling shifts before sensors could even fully register them. Viarothak's fleet hesitated. The perfect shape of their formation cracked. Push the brake, she ordered. Ghost wings through the gap. Flank his carriers. On board the Fong of Ulrex, Viarothak bared his fangs. Move all forward batteries. Neutralize her main cruiser. But it was too late. Helena's elite strike ships had already penetrated his defensive ring. They weren't targeting hulls. They were slicing control nodes, crippling maneuver systems, sowing confusion. She's carving us like meat, his helmsman said. Viarothak snarled. No more tactics. No more games. Prepare the Obliterator. The Obliterator was Viarothak's trump card, a prototype weapon hidden within his flagship. It tore space into chaos, collapsing gravitational cohesion in enemy ships. On the bridge of the Resolute, alarms flared. Space-time distortion detected. Something's pulling a localized gravity fold. Helena recognized the signature instantly. It's a gravity imploder. Move Resolute to Vector Epsilon. Break formation. They weren't fast enough. The UEN Arcos, closest to the imploder, crumpled in on itself, its hull twisting like wet cloth before it imploded into nothing. Arcos is gone, Mara whispered. Helena's hands curled into fists. Target the Ulrex. Hit that weapon hard. Resolute broke through the line. Debris rained around her. Laser arrays ripped through the void. She dove under Viarothak's flagship, releasing a barrage of kinetic charges directly into the underside of its shield lattice. A boom vibrated through space. Ulrex's outer defense layer breached, Mara shouted. Helena stepped forward. Boarding spike. A titanium spear launched from Resolute's core, piercing into the Fong of Ulrex's wounded hull. Inside that spike, 5 elite strike squads in zero-G armor, equipped with silent weapons and neural scramblers. Helena watched as the transmission linked, helmet cams flooding her screen with dark corridors, flashing lights, Zarkalon screams. Command core located, reported the lead operative. Engaging. The feed went white, then resolved into the Ulrex's bridge. Helena saw him. Viarothak stood in the center of chaos, sword drawn, bellowing commands in his native tongue. The operatives moved with ghost-like precision, neutralizing his guards, locking doors, cutting power feeds. Still he fought. Helena leaned closer to the screen, locking eyes with the warlord through the shaky camera. He saw her, even through the glass. Bring him down, she said. 10 minutes later, The Fong of Ulrex broadcast a final signal. Power lost, engines dead, command disabled. Aegis Station went silent. On the bridge of the Resolute, the feed switched to an interior chamber. Dim, smoke-filled. Virothek lay against the bulkhead, breathing shallow, blood trailing from his mouth. Helena stepped into the screen, now connected directly via comm. "You lost," she said. He coughed, baring sharp teeth. "You, humans, hide behind machines." "We fight with them," she corrected. "We lead them. And when necessary, we become them." Virothek stared at her, chest heaving. "You are not prey," he admitted. "But you are still young." Helena nodded. "You're right. We are. And still we brought you to your knees." She paused. "Imagine what we'll become next." Then she cut the feed. 3 hours later, the battlefield drifted in silence. Zarkalon ships either surrendered or self-destructed. Aegis Station remained, damaged, but standing. Vance approached. "It's done." "Not yet," Helena said. She keyed in a message. "To all hostile fleets, the Vanguard fleet is no longer silent. Earth is not unarmed. This is not revenge. This is a warning. You will not be given another." The war was over. Not declared, not signed, but ended, undeniably. In the days following the battle at Aegis Station, the galaxy paused. Not from respect, not from fear, but from the cold realization that Earth, once underestimated, now held the power to end wars. Messages from neutral empires flooded Earth Command. Treaties offered. Borders redrawn. Even former rivals sent cautious envoys wrapped in diplomacy. But none of them spoke of victory. They only whispered of Vanguard Protocol. The Resolute hovered silently in orbit above Terra. Its hull bore the scars of battle. Deep carbon scoring, armor plates blackened, some still missing. Yet it floated with pride, its presence visible to half the planet. On the bridge, Admiral Helena Raz stood alone. Her uniform was clean, pressed, but the weariness in her eyes betrayed sleepless nights. She watched as Earth spun below her, lights flickering across continents, oceans calm under a quiet sky. The war hadn't touched the homeworld. That had been the point. Behind her, footsteps echoed. Vance stepped into view, holding a datapad. "The Council approved your statement," he said. "Broadcast goes out in 1 hour." Helena didn't turn. "How bad are the numbers?" 15 ships lost. 3 colonies damaged. Civilian casualties, around 17,000. Silence. "And the Zarkalon?" she asked. "Scattered. Leaderless. Their empire fractured. A few factions may try to regroup, but they won't be a threat for a long time." She nodded slowly. "Good," she said. "Then I'll say what needs to be said." An hour later, her face appeared across every human channel, every shipboard screen, every colony terminal. No music. No flags. Just her, centered, direct. "This is Admiral Helena Raz of the Vanguard Protocol. To all peoples of the galaxy, let me be clear. We did not seek this war. We never have. We extended hands in peace, in trade, in hope. But that hope was seen as weakness. Our patience as cowardice. No longer. We do not revel in victory. There is no glory in ash, no joy in silence. But when the fire came for our homes, our people, we met it with steel. To those who still believe Earth is defenseless, remember Delta Origi. Remember Dara Prime. Remember Aegis Station. We will not strike first, but we will be the last to fall. Let this be the final lesson. We were never prey. We simply hadn't drawn our swords yet." The message was replayed, translated, and analyzed across every major system. On some worlds, cheers erupted in streets. On others, silence reigned. But everywhere the result was the same. Humanity had arrived, not as conquerors, not as subordinates, but as equals. 3 days later, Helena stood in front of a black marble wall at the Mars Memorial Complex. Thousands of names were carved into the stone: soldiers, engineers, medical staff, civilian volunteers. Some lost at Helion 7, others at Dara Prime. many from Aegis. She wore no medals. Only silence. A breeze stirred the synthetic trees around her, soft and unnatural in the low-gravity dome. She stepped forward, fingers brushing the etched name near the center. Commander Elias Raz. Mars Defense Cadre, Kia. First Contact War. Her brother. She hadn't visited in years. You were right, she said quietly. They never stopped testing us. She paused. But they won't again. Behind her, Vance waited a respectful distance. I didn't know he was your brother, he said softly. He died the first time the Zarkalon tried something like this. Back when Earth still believed treaties would hold. She straightened. I joined the fleet that day. Vance nodded slowly. So what now? Helena turned to him. Now? We rebuild. And Vanguard. She looked up at the sky above the dome, the stars peeking through the translucent field. We let them rest. Until they're needed again. Far from Earth, on a neutral moon station orbiting Sorin 9, a diplomatic council convened. 17 species in attendance. Most never agreed on anything. But this time they did. A single motion passed unanimously. No direct military engagement with Earth or any of its colonies without full council oversight. Not because they feared retaliation. Because now they knew Earth had the means. A month later, in the deep silence of unexplored space, a Zarkalon warlord, one of the last, tried to regroup his forces. Only 3 ships answered his call. The rest had defected or disappeared. Morale was gone. His advisors spoke of shame, of the defeat at Aegis, of Via Rothak's fall. Earth was never weak, one said. Only waiting. The warlord remained silent. He ordered his ships to stand down. Back in Seoul, Admiral Raz sat in a quiet garden overlooking a lake on Titan's terraformed surface. No armor. No uniform. Just a cup of tea and the silence she hadn't tasted in years. A young cadet approached. Ma'am, command says the president wants to meet. Let him wait, she said, not unkindly. She stared across the water, where artificial waves lapped gently at the stones. A few children laughed in the distance, chasing one another beneath the amber sky. This was why she had fought. Not to win. Not to conquer. Not even for revenge. But for this. Peace that didn't need apology. Silence that wasn't fear. Laughter that didn't end in fire. She finished her tea, stood, and stretched. I'll meet him now, she said. The cadet nodded, following behind. As they walked, Helena cast one last glance at the horizon. Then she smiled. Let them remember, she whispered. The moment they picked the wrong fleet.